Okay, we've talked about mastitis and milking machines before. We want to kind of go back to them and just make sure that we fit them in at this part. So, number of risk factors associated with mastitis. Milking machine is one of them. If your machine is poorly adjusted, if you're not milking out completely, if you've got too much vacuum at the teat end, if you're not pulsating correctly, all those can lead to mastitis with the animal. So, milking procedure also fits in there as well. Um, so, these to me sort of are connected. Certainly, infectious organisms coming to the animal are going to predispose her. The characteristics of the cow, how quickly her teat sphincter closes, how susceptible she is to mastitis, what her immune system is like, what vaccinations she's got, those sorts of things. The environment, we talked about clean, dry environment is what we're looking for. But let's focus on machines for this one. So, how does a machine cause mastitis? So the machine may hold bacteria, have a reserve of bacteria. So this is usually what we're doing with contagious things. This is one of the rationale for milking Staph aureus cows last. We got that bacteria, the milk on the machine that gets on the cow and somehow gets in the teat end and infects the other animal. We can have pressure changes that cause transfer or even impacts. We'll show you a picture of that in a minute. If we have liner slip, we have air introduced into the system. That's going to mess with the vacuum and can send milk flying in a number of different directions. That those directions are pretty speedy and may breach the street canal up into the teat cistern and allow the bacteria to colonize. So if we don't have the liners collapsing, pulsating the way they're supposed to, we can have teat end damage. So we're not getting a good massage phase. We've got a flooded teat cup, all the things where we're not pulsating the way we're supposed to. Um, we can have damage at the teat end. We also may have incomplete milk out, which is going to predispose that quarter, that udder, to leaking and potentially draw milk into the udder. And if that milk is infected, it has an opportunity to infect the entire udder, assuming they can get a colonized foothold and not get flushed out at the next milking. So I mentioned impacts. Up here, we're going to take a look at how that occurs. So how does an impact occur? You can have air entering on this side of the unit through the teat cup that comes in. That air is going to rush in to displace the vacuum that's there. If there's some speed associated with that, air is moving very quickly through there. It can take milk droplets, accelerate up the opposite side of the claw, and end up in the teat cistern. So those droplets, if they hit it right, they're going at a speed. Somebody said 60 miles an hour. I don't know how they clock that. Certainly a very small radar gun if that's what we're doing. But that air, that liner slip, air leaks in. We could have leaks in the hose here, leaks in the liner, all things that can allow air to come in. If the claw is lined up in such a way that you've got a smooth transition from one side to the other, um, Staph aureus historically would go from one side of the udder to the opposite diagonal, and that was because of these impacts going in. If you don't cut off the vacuum, if things have holes in them, if you're not adjusting the unit properly, Liner slip is going to allow that impact to go from one side to the other. But most modern claws are designed in such a way that they don't line up. This does not line up right across from that. There's a wall in between. There's something that forces the milk in a different directions. You might have that spiral claw where everything gets spun around so it doesn't line up and shoot directly to the opposite side.